I've reviewed tons of Ilia over the years, so I definitely know that it's a really hit and miss brand, but also quite pricey. But they released this new foundation that I had to try out, the Ilia Skin Rewind Complexion Stick. This is a stick cream foundation, which is usually not my thing, but I'm just so curious to see if they can change my mind on that and if they really made a spectacular cream foundation. So first, let me get into the details of this product and then we'll jump into the try on. So this foundation is $48 and you get 10 grams of product or 0.35 ounces. Usually with liquid foundations, you get an ounce of product. I got the shade 1N Hinoki, which is called Extra Light with Neutral Undertones. They didn't have any shades that said they have an olive undertone, so I just went with the lightest one. So this says it's a long wear skincare powered complexion stick that blurs instantly, invisibly, firms and smooths over time. So it claims to have those skincare benefits, which is like a very trendy thing in foundation at the moment. It says it has medium coverage with a natural finish. So it has ceramides, kelp extract, butterfly, lavender extract. Also says that this buildable natural matte formula melts in and moves with you, staying seamless for up to 12 hours. That claim is a little, usually like companies will be like, oh, wears for 12 hours. And usually it doesn't. If you're saying for up to 12 hours, you're kind of like, I mean, if it wore for 2 hours, that would still be in the claim, wouldn't it? Am I just overthinking that? I don't know. Anyway, it also says the potent skincare ingredients firm, smooth, and soften the appearance of lines and wrinkles for healthier looking skin with every swipe. I'm really curious to see how this lives up to the moves with you claims, because my #1 complaint with most cream stick foundations is that they bunch up when my face moves. They tend to just slide around on my face, which I don't like the look of. It doesn't look good. So we will see if that beats the claim. I know a lot of you have also commented that you have that similar issue. For me, it's just always in my chin, nose area. Foundation will just, it just wants to leave my face. It wants to bunch up. Happens with so many new launch foundations and is a lot of the reason why I don't like a lot of them. But now I got the details. Let's go ahead and start with the application, wear time, all the zhuzh about this new foundation. All right, let's get started and whip this bad boy out. So this is the foundation stick. What's really interesting about this packaging is it does have this little divot in the side, just so it's a little bit easier to hold, which I do appreciate. I do find that it's a little bit easier to hold, especially with the slick packaging. Maybe not the easiest to open if you have dexterity issues. So when you first get it, there is a little embossing Ilia logo on the stick. I have already tried this though to give you a thorough review, but I just wanted to mention this. And I got the shade 1N, which is called Hinoki. So I usually just pick whatever the lightest neutral shade is. And as you can tell, it blends really nicely into my skin. Sometimes swatches, like it's so hard to tell because it's usually swatched on just one person's skin tone. Well, they usually have a range, right? Like light, medium, dark. But if I'm looking at the light shades, it's only on one person's skin tone and undertone. So if they have like a warm or cool or neutral undertone, I feel like it does affect how the foundation looks. So it's always good to, you know, go in store and swatch. Or of course, find videos like this that are helpful if you have a similar skin tone to me. But let's go ahead and start applying this. I'm gonna start on this side of my face. I do have a little bit of a breakout and I'm starting to get like a little rash here. I'm not sure what from. I'm hoping it's not this, but I'm gonna do 2 swipes. It doesn't say how to apply it on Sephora at least, but usually with cream foundations, I would use a brush just because they're not usually water-based, so brushes tend to work a little bit better because you usually wet a sponge. I'm gonna be using my flat top rose ink brush, which I love for foundations, and I always feel these flat tops work really well with creams. I'm gonna start just by stippling this in, and I just have like my standard skin prep on. Okay, that's definitely more of quite a light coverage. I will say it blended out beautifully though, which can be sometimes the problem with cream foundations, right? Is that they can stick a little bit and just not blend. So let's go ahead and continue on. I'm really interested to see, you know, over this like drier blemish, what it looks like. I feel like for a stick foundation, I'm using quite a lot of product, not quite a lot of product, probably just a standard amount of product because it is more on that light coverage side. You never know with cream foundations, sometimes they're super pigmented and sometimes, well actually I haven't really tried any one that is similar in coverage to this where it's on the lighter side. I think the shade is actually really nice match for me. I always find that Ilia's neutrals, they don't lean cool or warm. It's quite a true neutral. You can still see the difference in my skin. Like you can really see, I feel like my olive undertones at the moment versus this. It's almost like a little bit peachier. Probably the best we're gonna get. I do wish I had a better shade range. I really like the way this applies on the skin. It is super smooth, like when I'm just using the stick to apply it. I'm gonna just finish blending and then we'll take a closer look at everything. No fragrance in here, by the way, I don't think. It really doesn't. It smells like maybe a little bit, no, I don't know. It doesn't really smell like anything. Okay, something bit weird is happening on my forehead. I do like to additionally just go in with a dry sponge, although I have tried this with a wet sponge. It seemed to work okay. It didn't really separate it or anything. I just feel like you get a little bit more coverage this way. And I'm just gonna try to smooth out the texture. So application, I think this applies really nicely. It doesn't feel as heavy as a lot of cream foundations tend to feel, which is a good plus for me. It glides on smoothly, and I feel like there's a couple different methods you can use to blend it out. Even with your fingers, you can sort of press it in. Definitely has this like satin matte finish to it. Not very dewy, I would say just like a standard skin finish. The one thing that I do notice with this though is like I didn't know my skin was this dry. Maybe my skin's just really dry at the moment, but my forehead and just around my nose and the blemish, like I'm seeing a lot of dry skin on my face, which usually doesn't happen with the other foundations that I'm using. It doesn't look horrible. The thing with dry skin on your face is it's probably always gonna look like dry skin. Even with makeup, there's not gonna be a foundation that's gonna fix that. But some will accentuate it a little bit more. I feel like it's sinking in a little bit, so it is slightly accentuating dry skin for me at the moment. Going ahead for the rest of my face, I'm just gonna use a little bit of this Haus Labs concealer under my eyes. This isn't interacting the best with my concealer. I'm gonna take a little bit of the foundation on my finger and just see if I can fix a little bit of patchiness that I have going on. My skin looks so dry. I'm honestly so confused about this. Like, can you see on my forehead? Oh, there you go. See that like texture that's showing through? I've recently exfoliated. Like, I don't know why that is sort of happening. I do have textured skin, so sometimes things like that can happen. We'll give it a little bit of grace. Like I said, I have tested this before, so I have some full thoughts on it, but we will still do this full wear test so I can really show you what's happening and whether good or bad. But I'm gonna go ahead and set my under eyes. I think I'm just gonna set one side of my face. Really curious to see how this works without any powder because I previously had only tested it with powder. I'm just using the Mercier brightening powder just so it is truly translucent for my under eyes. And then for powder, let's just do this right side of my face. So I'm gonna use the Bareminerals Mineral Veil, the pressed version. I like this one because it's truly translucent. It does set down really nicely. Like I don't feel like it moves a ton when you are setting it. Still just noticing a lot of that dry skin though. For the rest of my face, I actually have this new Sephora contour I want to use. It looked super cool toned. It's their Fair to Light contour powder. Like this is a true gray-ish cool tone contour. I'm gonna take a little bit of this on a domed brush. This isn't ultra pigmented, which is really helpful for contour. And I just like to stipple it in. That way I don't get too much of like a striped look. And then I will go in and blend. So I'm gonna do the same on the jawline and right on the top of the forehead. Then for blush, let's do my classic Armis Beauty French Rose for a little bit of dimension. I've been loving just an absorbent amount of blush lately. I used to not wear blush or any lip products in high school. Can you believe that? But I would have like full coverage, full eyes, lashes. That was kind of just the makeup era, you know? I feel like blush just makes everything better. It just does. So it's 1:13. I will finish up the rest of my makeup and wear this throughout the day. And then I'll be back with my final thoughts and updates on this formula and whether or not it is worth it. Compare it to some other cream foundations that I own as well. Especially for the price, we're gonna really test if this is going to be a new buy that is worth your money or you might be disappointed with. It's officially 2 o'clock and I am done with the rest of my makeup. Just filmed my review of the new Makeup by Mario Master Mattes, so stay tuned for that video. That'll be out after this one. So here's just the initial look of the foundation. I don't feel like anything got worse looking. It kind of just looks the same as it started. I'm really curious to see how this unset side wears throughout the day. It is like getting a little bit oily already, but we will see. I'll provide the updates and all the details, but I don't know why I started talking country. I will see you the next check-in. Okay, so here's overhead lighting because there's skylights up here, overhead natural lighting. You should be able to see that texture I'm talking about a little bit more, like on my forehead. This is the set side, by the way. This is unset. Like, not super bad looking, but not as good as I would like it to look. But yeah, we'll see about this. Now here's even more direct natural light. I think it looks a little bit prettier in this lighting. You can for sure see with this unset side, we're getting a lot more glow. It did say it's a natural matte finish. See this? I had issues with this like texture right here. Not really over here, but I don't know really what's going on. Oh my gosh, you can really see it on my forehead. Like, I usually don't have that texture look with my favorite foundations. And here is direct sunlight, which I feel like tends to blur things a little bit, but I feel like it maybe helps you with a better look at the finish of this. Definitely like natural matte, maybe a little bit more satiny when it's not set. Okay, done blinding myself. Okay, it is now 6:12. I'm gonna end the wear of this just a little bit early because I have worn it before. I know how it wears. I feel like at this point you can see everything that happens, and then from here on it kind of stays mostly the same. Maybe I get a little bit more oily. But let's talk about how this foundation stick wore. I was quite active today, so I got a little bit sweaty, and this side of my face is the unpowdered side, by the way. And then over here we have the powdered side. So I definitely prefer the powdered side because this is just too oily for me. It doesn't look, I mean, yeah, it's not super bad like I mentioned. By the end of the day, I would definitely be way more oily than I would prefer. So at this point, I would probably touch up. So here's the thing about this foundation is, like I mentioned, there's all that texture in the beginning and it's still there for sure. I don't feel like it got worse. Maybe slightly better because my natural oils moisturize that skin a little bit, if you know what I'm saying. So the past few times that I did test wearing this, I'm having a really hard time with this product bunching with powders. So you can actually see that on this side of my face here on the right side. I don't know if it didn't happen over here because I didn't use powder or because that got wiped off. It doesn't look like there's really any coverage there, so that might have been what happened while I was eating, because when I did test before, there was just a lot of bunching going on. So just right in this chin area, when my face moves, if you've never heard of bunching, it's just when the product sort of gets caked up on your skin and starts to look really makeup-y. So that's something I don't love about this. I will say though, the sides of my nose and my smile lines, I do also get a tiny bit of that bunching, but it's not nearly as bad as a lot of other cream formulas I've tried. I would probably suggest, if you're gonna wear this, to make sure you really remove the extra product where your face is gonna be moving. It did claim that it moves with your skin, so I'm definitely disappointed that it's not as sort of like bunch proof as I would like. Like for me with my MAC Studio Radiance or the About Face foundation, I don't get any of that happening until really if I'm wearing the foundation for a super long time, and I can set it with powder and control my oil, so those are just perfect for me. I'm having a hard time thinking, like, because if you have dry skin, this does like sit on dry skin a little bit, but it's also not super oil controlling. So in terms of skin types, I would like this. If you're in that like normal skin type range, I think this could work for you. Definitely make sure you're well exfoliated. If you don't feel like you want to have to like compromise for a foundation, I wouldn't recommend this to you. You know how foundations look differently and wear differently on all of us? For me, if you like similar foundations to I do, you've had luck with them, I would avoid this one. But if you like cream foundations and you've actually had luck with cream foundations in the past and they look great on you and you love how they feel, this actually might be a really good pick, because out of all the cream foundations I've tried, it does have this lightness to it. It's definitely more light coverage, which is quite unique in a cream foundation as well. Feels comfortable. For me, it starts to feel a little bit heavy by the end of the night. Like this is the point where like it just starts to feel like makeup on my skin and I kind of want to remove it. I prefer something a lot more lightweight that's going to wear a lot longer and not going to give me this sort of like yucky feeling that I have now. So for the price, I am not over the moon about this. I think the shade match was pretty good though. Like I mentioned though, if you feel like you like stick foundations, it's a pretty good one, but it's not something I'm like, everyone's gonna love this even if you don't use cream foundations. I know that's a lot of info, but I hope you pick up what I'm putting down. I really do hope that you find this video helpful and enjoyable. Don't forget to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching. There will be another video here so we can keep hanging out. I will see you in this next one. Bye.